Yakuza, a franchise where the odd things are normal, and no matter how many layers of clothing people have on, they can always take all of it off in one fell swoop. Hello everybody. Today, we're going to be answering the question, can you beat Yakuza Kiwami 2 with no upgrades? Now, the game isn't hard, but the combat can be very annoying as your attack can easily be blocked midway through a combo, and for some reason, your attack bounces off your enemy like you just punched a goddamn trampoline. I honestly don't know why they changed this, as you can clearly see in the earlier games that I can attack an enemy while he is blocking. The game also switched to ragdoll physics, so everyone you hit just becomes a flailing body, and if you pick up a weapon and you don't store it, and if you get hit, somehow your weapon crumbles into pieces like Thanos snapped his fingers. This can become very annoying when fighting against difficult bosses. Also, your character can't seem to run more than 10 feet before running out of breath. You're supposed to upgrade this skill, but we can't do that in this run. Though, this doesn't really become a problem once we get the green Dakara drink, which helps us run for a longer period of time. Before we get started, I want to go over the rules. The only rule is that I can't upgrade any skills, and that includes sub-stories that give me upgrades. The game starts you off with some upgrades, but those don't count since I myself did not upgrade them. I start off by choosing New Game and selecting the Legend difficulty, and we watch as a detective watches a gang leader get shot and asks the detective to save his kid before dying. We find his wife and kid in a burning room, and the wife proceeds to throw her kid out the window before the detective stops her and bitch slaps her ass. Fast forward, we see the protagonist mourning and whining about why he's the only one alive like a loser before some cars pull up carrying the 5th chairman of the Tojo clan. He tells his men not to follow him inside, and they tell him that he can get ambushed, but he doesn't care and walks inside anyway. He immediately gets shot for being a dumbass, and the game forces me into a combat tutorial while the chairman sits there dying. Before dying, he tells me to take a letter to the Omi headquarters, and so I explain everything that happens at the Tojo clan before requesting to find somebody first before proceeding with my mission. On my way to find Daigo, I help a girl being harassed by a group of goons and beat the last one up by smashing a can into that thick boy's plump forehead. She leads me to where Daigo is, and inside I try talking to him, but his subordinates start acting rude, so we take it outside where I beat up all of them. Apparently they still wanted some smoke, and one of them pulled a knife out on me before the big boss tells them all to go inside. I have a long chat with Daigo before punching him for no apparent reason, and we fight. I waste no time and land a massive right hook and drop kick him. I then run to a bike, grab it, and smash it on him. The fight continues until he nearly kills me, and after getting him low enough, the game prompts me to unleash my inner Super Saiyan and charge up my heat to perform a finisher move. I punch Daigo, probably shattering all his ribs, and we go to Osaka. In Osaka, I meet a thug who tells me to stop being a peacock, so I tell him I peacocked his mom, and then beat him up. After beating up the thug, I meet Kurokawa, who helps me get VIP seats inside the Grand, and inside we meet the main antagonist, Ryuji Goda. He smashes a bottle over his underling's head because he called him the wrong title, and tells him to repeat it, and instead I say it. His underlings fight me over this, but I don't think they have a say anymore, as I throw one of them off the 2nd floor and punch the rest of them into a bloody pulp. After beating his goons, Ryuji tells me that there will be fireworks outside at midnight. Excited, I run exhaustingly outside to see the fireworks. But what? Oh no, that's not fireworks. That's the Millennium Tower being blown up. He lied to me. How could he? The next day, I prepared to go to Omi headquarters by buying some armor, which was surprisingly cheap, and at Omi HQ, I asked the chairman for his alliance, and he accepts, but then a bunch of scary guys with guns and knives walk in, and of course, Ryuji is leading them. Daigo tries to get revenge on Ryuji, but gets knocked out by a jab to the stomach. I fight all of the men, but then another wave comes, and I succeed in beating them as well. Daigo returns the favor to Ryuji and knocks him down, then tells me to go for the chairman. On my way down, I somehow use Ultra Instinct to dodge this man's knife throw and meet one of the toughest enemies in the game. Not because they do insane damage, but rather, they don't flinch when you hit them, and they have a huge health bar. Plus, you can't block their attack. I make my way down and jump on a chandelier before dropping it on some guys. There's another couch guy, so I shoot him with my gun, but that doesn't affect them, so I start grabbing everything I could and threw it at him before trying to shoot him with the fire extinguisher. I beat him and fight Ryuji outside. I waste no time chopping him up with my sword before he got low enough and a QTE popped up, in which I miserably failed. I was completely defenseless against his red form as my moonwalk was too slow and he punches me. I managed to land a hit and try to combo him, but somehow, he recovered and shoryuken my ass. A game over popped up on my screen like I didn't know I just died, and I load up a save and make preparations to fight him again. To prepare for my attack, I bought health items, food, and sodas, which actually came in handy the rest of the game due to their unique status effects after drinking them. I tried one of my sodas at Omi HQ and found out that it was especially useful. I met with Ryuji again and fought him, took a chug of some citrus cider, and watched as my sword did massive damage against Ryuji. The same QTE popped up and somehow I still failed it this time, and watched as my knife crumbled into a million pieces before I could finish him off. So now, I had to fight him with my fists. This is easier said than done because with no upgrades, he made quick work of me. He wouldn't even let me get up and kicked me twice in the face until I turned into a folding chair. Somehow, I managed to land a hit on him and charged up my heat before ending Ryuji with a good old knee to the face. Then, a bunch of cops showed up and one of them told me I was being arrested for assault and put me in cuffs. I found out the arrest was fake and that I was under protective custody. She got shot by a sniper and instead of telling me where the nearest hospital is, she tells me to find a bar. I find the bar and the lady in charge tells me to haul ass back to the car and grab the girl. I carry her back and decide to leave because I would just bother them. On my way around town, I bumped into an old man who I manipulated into giving me 100,000 yen. He says he would be at the arcade and would give me money if I won, so I headed to the arcade where I accepted his challenge. I chose Sarah, but didn't realize how bad I was at this game until I got clapped by myself multiple times. I used the cheap tactic to beat her, but then immediately got clapped again on the next match. I waited to the game over screen to try and exit, but it brought me back to the start screen. At this point, I was mad, but I didn't know how to exit. After getting beat again, I searched up how to exit the game and finally did it. I didn't beat the old man, but he gave me 50,000 yen, so at least I made a profit. I got back to the bar where Karu tells me to take the bullet she got shot with to a mahjong parlor. The guy at the parlor tells me it's invite night only, and some guy tells me about a legendary mahjong player who now spends all his time at the arcade. I meet him at the arcade where he tells me he'll give me a pass to get in if I save his baby girl, which is a cat. I find the men who took his cat, but I got uppercutted and died before beating them. I beat them the second time, he gives me the pass, and I head inside the mahjong parlor where the informer tells me about the bullet and then tells me I have to die. I take a sip of soda and start smashing everyone around with the trash can. I found out back at the bar that Daigo is in Kamurocho, so I head back to Kamurocho where I get a phone call from some guy telling me to meet him at the Amino building at 1 AM. I tell everyone what happens at the Tojo clan and we find out the building is part of Shindo's territory, but he doesn't want to help me because he's still butthurt that I beat up his boss, my best friend, a year ago. I receive a key which led me to the storage room, which had a bunch of good loot, and I found a familiar knife. I tell the two about bringing back the owner of the familiar knife, and after entering Purgatory, I'm greeted by the legend himself, Gary Buster Holmes, who tells me the person I'm looking for is downstairs. Inside, I meet Majima and try to convince him to join the Tojo clan again, and he agrees under the condition that I participate in a tournament. In the first round, I fought against a Brazilian juggernaut. I took a chug of some citrus cider and began hacking away at his HP bar with a sword. After I got him low enough, I decided to fight him with my fist, but he hit me with a pretty big attack before I finished him off. Next, we fought the legend himself, Gary Buster Holmes, whose body looks retarded because his back is so damn narrow. I was already going to beat him, but then he made a stupid pose which made me want to beat his ass even more. I used the cheap tactic to beat him where I punched him once and then guarded, then repeated until his HP whittled down. After beating him, I looked over to where Majima was sitting, but he disappeared. Then he walks out dancing toward the arena like a bad bitch. The gong rings and instantly, Majima charges at me like a madman before sliding under my kick, giving us this cool cinematic view. I take another glug of citrus cider and proceed to fight him with my bare hands, which was easy before his red form. A cool looking QTE pops up and I don't miss it this time. Then Majima decides to go Super Saiyan God. In his Super Saiyan God form, he becomes unpredictable and hard to fight barehanded with no upgrades, so I use a sword before it breaks. Out of options and not wanting to waste all of my health items, I pull a machine gun out and blast Majima with it. Somehow he manages to eat up all 24 shots and I go Super Saiyan Blue and punch him in the gut, successfully winning the tournament. We get a cutscene of Date and Kawara questioning Kazuki about foreign aliens to see if he's mafia, and because he is, runs away. It's time to go to the Amino building, so I head there but the door is locked. Then some gang members whose hideout was the building comes up to me and wants to fight. I do well against them until I somehow stand on top of a rail while swinging a bat, causing me to miss, and one of them kicks me to death. I beat them the second time, and one of them tells me their boss has the keys to the building. I find their bosses and fight with both of them, which was hard as hell due to the endless number of lackeys and the fact that they attacked me from every angle. I beat them up, and one of them thinks he's some type of video game boss who has a second form, and he gives me the key after I threaten him. I head inside the building, where I somehow managed to dodge this QTE even though I was spamming one button before I could see what the button was. This guy was hard as hell to beat, because for some reason the Jingweon Mafia members all have Ultra Instinct. Like, look at this guy. On top of that, he can somehow dodge in the middle of my combos like some sort of god. I ultimately defeat him by smashing a bike on him, then punching him in the face. I proceeded further and met the hardest enemy in the game. He has two forms, and his first form was hard enough due to his natural Ultra Instinct and the fact that he doesn't want me to use weapons and so breaks every weapon I use. After beating his first form, he wakes up and becomes Knife Boots Larry. I was not gonna deal with this shit, so I just blasted him down with a machine gun. After a few shots, I tried to get close with the knife, but backed off immediately after he takes off a huge chunk of my HP bar with the knife kick to the face. So I just continued to gun him down, charged up, and kneed him in the face. I made it to the top where for some reason there were two Kazukis, and Kawara finds out who is fake, but Date tries to stop him. He looks away for a moment, and the fake Kazuki shoots him and the real Kazuki. He has a standoff with Date before he gets shot by Karu. I bring Kazuki to a clinic, and Date and I hit a bar to talk things over. At the clinic, some Korean dudes punch Karu, and I wasn't having it, so I beat up both of them. Back at the bar, Date tells me the barkeep is being strange and even has pictures of me like a creep. The barkeep politely begs me to let him kill me, in which I respond by actually dying before coming back and beating them all up. The cops apparently think Date shot the fake Kazuki, even though we don't see a flash from his barrel, and so we go to meet the florist, who is in charge of sending evidence to the police. He says that he didn't send it and that he has a rat problem. He finds video surveillance of Daigo, and before we can get to his location, a convenient blackout occurs. We see who is causing the blackout, so I go down there to spray them with the fire extinguisher. Their boss reveals himself, and I empty some bullets into him. He grabs some pipes, and we have a pipe battle before I burn him with an illegally modded police baton. I beat him with a flurry of punches and return to the florist, but some shit happens again, and this time we're being hacked. We are clearly shown who is hacking, but all of the characters are too dumb to notice. Karu flexes her gamer girl skills and reboots the system for us, and we find out where Daigo is. And before heading to his location, I pick up a few more health items. Inside, it was much easier to deal with the enemies than the Amino building because weapons are literally scattered everywhere conveniently for you to pick up. I reach Daigo where he is tied up and beat the guys guarding him, then he tells me the chairman was taken somewhere else. Back at Serena, we find out Terada's funeral is tomorrow, and so I head there before a bunch of cars pull up. The guy who I threw off the second floor of the Grand is somehow alive and wants to fight me again. I gladly beat him up, and Ryuji comes and tells me he didn't plan the attack. He gives me 3 days to relax before he attacks us again, and tells me Sengoku is probably doing something in Kamurocho. We get a cutscene of Sengoku's men walking down Kamurocho before being confronted by one fearless man, the one-eyed mad dog, Majima. I rush back to Kamurocho to find Majima all bloody, and he tells me that the attack was a bait to get me to come out here. He ushers me to get back to the Tojo clan, and when I get there, I am confronted by Shindo's men. I make my way through all of them, and Shindo wants to fight me. I fight him before he runs off like a little pussy, and I chase him down before he runs away again after I pump 3 bullets into his body. Outside, I fight him barehanded until Yayoi throws me a sword, and I clash with Shindo samurai style before watching clearly as I slice them. I examine his body after the battle, and somehow his wounds magically disappear. I return back to free the hostages, but then a QTE pops up and I get cut by Shindo, who I swear I just killed a minute ago. I make sure I beat him for good this time, and when I go to rescue the hostages, this jackass still has the audacity to try and shoot me. Daigo shoots him twice and Shindo dies, but earlier I clearly shot 3 bullets into him and he somehow managed to survive unscathed. I get back to Kamurocho where Karu tells me she also has some business in Kansai, and we talk in the bar. I tell her I need to go searching for Chairman Goda, but that crazy bitch points a gun at me and tells me to follow what she tells me to do. So I agree. She goes to the Osaka police department where she tries to find out about the Jingweon mafia. She talks to her boss and he tells us to find a place named Kima and look for a man named Mirai. The boss warns Karu that the Jingweon are dangerous as hell and tells her not to look for the Jingweon, which even I agree with. and she gets pissed and runs off. To cheer her up, I go looking for her and witness a man hit her, so I punched one of them in the face and they all ran away after I gave them a good thrashing. After I saved her, she basically asked me if I wanted to go on a date with her, in which I agreed. We get to watch a cutscene of their date. Then up on a roof, Kiro gives subtle hints that he likes her and tells her some very good life lessons. In the morning, I paid some old guy 30,000 yen to give me information about the Kima place. After he tells me, I do a sequence of puzzles and receive a shogi piece, sort of like the cherry tile used to get me into the mahjong parlor. The old guy comes back up to me and demands that I give him the shogi piece, but hell no, I earned this rightly, and so we crush his skull by sandwiching his head between our kicks. We head to Kima and inside we find Mirai. We learn that Karu's supposed dad was apparently the guy who got shot in the beginning of the game. We try to get more information, but then the Jingweon Mafia shows up and a poor man gets stabbed to death. I try to finish off the strongest of the bunch by smashing a bowling ball into his head before doing what I normally do to fight trash. After I defeated them, some guy somehow had the strength to throw a knife a good 12 feet and perfectly stab Mirai right in the gut. First off, these guys have Ultra Instinct and now they have Super Strength? How overpowered are these guys? I try to force them into talking, but they all start eating cocaine, causing them to cough up blood and die. And that's why you don't do drugs. Mirai also kills himself, so we basically had to fight all of those guys for nothing. Later on the bridge, I told Karu that I was basically the one who caused her supposed father's death, and I told her to kill me because she said she wouldn't forgive the person who did it, but all she did was get pissed off at me and ran away. I watched one of my favorite scenes from the original get ruined because they decided to put this music into the new version. Well, all you need to know from that cutscene is that I got stabbed with a poison knife. After I got patched up, I find a letter telling me my baby girl Haruka has gotten kidnapped, and so I head to the marvelous Osaka Castle to rescue her. Inside, I was awaited and got attacked right away, so I drank my trusty citrus cider and beat up all the samurai on the first floor. On the second floor, I fought two ninjas, which took way longer than it should have. And guess who I had to fight on the third floor? That's right, more ninjas. On the fourth floor, there was a machine gun, so of course I had to use it. It wasn't as good as I hoped it would be because I couldn't aim with my mouse and had to use WASD to look around, which was flimsy as hell, especially with the recoil. After taking care of all the samurai with the machine gun, I pumped several bullets into this guy and I was certain he turned into ground beef, but he came out unscathed. Of course he would. What was I expecting? Well, it wasn't all for naught as I finally beat him for good on the next floor, and I also beat up his ninja buddies. I reached the top floor where I meet Sengoku, and this dude releases tigers for me to fight. How the hell am I supposed to fight against a tiger? Oh wait, there are spears? This is gonna be easy. Let me tell you. This was not easy at all. Here comes the storing weapons problem again. I didn't store my weapons, so even if the tiger so much as licked me, my spear would break. Luckily though, I'm still pretty strong with no weapons, so it wasn't all that bad. After getting the first tiger low enough, I managed to somehow kick it flying to its death even though it was 3 times my size. I took down the first tiger pretty easily, so I thought, hey, the second one isn't gonna be that hard, but oh boy, was I wrong. I whiffed a kick and this pussy jumped on me and I hit my head on the wall, but before I could even get a concussion, I was dead. I came back to the castle and the second time it was much easier to get through. I made it to the tigers again, kicked the first tiger to death, and now it was time to face my arch nemesis, the second tiger. I tried to use a spear, but this dude kept hopping around too much and broke my spear. I decided weapons were gonna be useless and created a tactic where I run till it stops charging at me. Then whenever it's recovering, I stomp on its head. Even though I said I was done with weapons, I found one more spear and was tempted to take it, but the tiger was tired of my shit and hit me as soon as I turned around. But that wasn't enough and it broke the freaking spear. I finally beat the tiger and this time I gave it the concussion and probably mentally impaired him or her for the rest of its life. Up yet another floor, we witness Sengoku get killed by Ryuji. Serves him right for kidnapping little girls. I save Haruka and receive a phone call from one of the Jingweon Mafia raid survivors who tells me that he has captured Date, While driving on the way to save him, some mafia guys pull up next to my van and I get on their platform to fight. Honestly, it was easy to beat all of them because all I had to do is grab them and throw them off the truck. This mini boss was also susceptible to this trick as I just threw him off the truck before he even got a chance to fight back. After I threw everyone off the truck, my happiness turned to despair as I found out I had to fight the dreadful Knife Boots Larry again. I tried multiple times to grab him, but he used Ultra Instinct to dodge them all until I managed to grab him, but it wouldn't let me throw him off the truck. I had no choice but to pull out my rocket launcher and blow him to smithereens. I shot the rocket, which did the most mediocre damage I've ever seen, and not only did it hit him, but it hit me as well. My second shot somehow missed even though it was right next to him, and I seriously thought I was screwed. I finally got him low after I found a pole in my inventory and spammed the sweep attack over and over and over. I landed the last punch and watched joyfully as he got ran over by the truck. Before going to save Date, I stocked up on some weapons so I wouldn't be screwed when I saved him. At the Millennial Tower, we find out that Kawara was actually Karu's father all this time. Once again, he makes the mistake of looking away when he has a gun pointed at someone and he gets shot. He gets shot a couple more times before I finally decide to save him. It was hard to fight Kurahashi because literally one gunshot from him would take off more than a third of my health, but I eventually beat him thanks to the weapons I bought earlier. The beating I gave Kurahashi wasn't enough, and so he tried to shoot Karu, but Kawara takes the shot. Kawara kills Kurahashi and is now on the verge of death. No! Why? Don't go, man. You still have so much to live for. Don't leave me! Everyone mourns about Kawara's death while Ryuji plans to invade Kamurocho with a crap ton of cars. Inside the bar, Karu and I have some sexy time, and after she leaves, Date calls me saying that Kazuki is talking mad crazy. Kazuki tells us there are bombs in the city and the number of bombs is 33. I leave the bomb situation up to Date as he says he'll contact the police department to defuse the bombs. Back at the Tojo clan, Daigo gives off a dope-ass speech to get the Yakuza to save Kamurocho from Ryuji, but then we find out that the police department won't defuse the bombs, and so we set the Yakuza under Daigo to defuse the bombs while I fight off Ryuji all on my own. Without the tech under the city, we would have no way to find the bombs, so Majima smashes his head into the desk until the tech works and we can find the bombs. While the florist was busy finding the bombs, I got a bunch of calls from my homeboys telling me that they're getting their asses whooped. Like, bro, how are you that weak? My first stop was the cafe of the owner who tried to kill me, and inside, I just chopped up everyone into minced meat. Next, I headed to the clinic where I got killed, and like always, I came back and killed them like how they did to me. I finally get to Stardust and see my homeboy Yuya getting mopped around like a punching bag. And after I beat up his goons, I fall down too weak to fight Ryuji due to the knife wound I sustained earlier. Ryuji then says he'll fight me after I recover at the top of Kamurocho Hills. After I recovered, I decided to head for Ryuji, and outside I met on with groups of Jingweon Mafia members who somehow barricaded the city without me knowing. I made my way through waves of enemies who I was not willing to fight without weapons. I was making it through alright, but just as I thought I was fine. Oh, what's that in the background? Oh shit, it's a rocket! After that, I decided not to mess with the rocket dude and found another route to my destination. I met two guys waiting for me at the park and I fight them with a sword before heading inside Purgatory. I spent quite some time fighting the mafia inside Purgatory but managed to do it and got on the elevator. On the elevator, I met Knife Boots Goddamn Larry, who pulls off a whole Street Fighter combo on me and KOs me after I messed up my attack. I was mad as hell having to restart at the beginning, but that all changed when I discovered Muscle Soda. Let me tell you, this soda is a life changer. Look at how fast I beat these guys with Muscle Soda compared to Citrus Cider. Yeah, it's a pretty big difference. With Muscle Soda, those guys got in the front or light work, and I finally fought Larry again, where I straight up just ended his career. He isn't coming back after that. Up on top, I find Karu and she reveals Ryuji is her brother and wants to save him. Ryuji gets mad at Goda for hiding the fact that he had family. Ryuji says that I'm the only obstacle left in his way, and we get down to business and take off our shirts to reveal our tattoos. I drank my Muscle Soda and started hacking away at him with my saw because he had a sword, and then I proceeded to break his skull and send him spinning like a Beyblade. A plot twist occurs and we find out that Torado was actually alive this whole time. Where the hell have you been, man? This all started because of you. He reveals himself to be the last Jingweon survivor, says that I'm going to die, and pulls out a machine gun. I absolutely mopped the floor with him after drinking Muscle Soda. Just one sword slash took off a whole bar of HP from him. Imagine if I had actually used this earlier in the game. I wouldn't have had to struggle with Knife Boots Larry. This soda literally makes up for not having upgrades. After I beat Terada, I got shot, Chairman Goda got shot, and Terada got shot all by Takashima. Terada decides to set off the timer to a bomb before dying, and it results in him eating even more bullets. I get shot again, and Ryuji and Takashima have a shoot off and they both hit each other. What the hell is up with today? Everyone is getting shot. Ryuji wins and kills Takashima with a headshot. Ryuji and I decide to fight even though we're wounded and the bomb is about to blow. We begin the fight with the cool little cinematic intro, and I wanted to fight him with no weapons. Of course though, I was gonna use my muscle soda. I fought Ryuji normally at first, but eventually found an exploit and beat him by spamming him into a corner with the same moves. After getting his HP to 0, you're forced to do a QTE, in which if you fail, the whole battle was for nothing and you have to restart the fight. But I managed to complete the QTE. For some reason, Karu is still here and comes running to her brother, and they have a long talk about their mom before Ryuji either dies or passes out. I can't tell. Even though the bomb is going to blow, Kiryu and Karu thinks it's a good idea to make out instead of trying to escape. The bomb timer reaches 0 and the screen turns black. We see Haruka visiting a grave which we assume is Kiryu's, but what the hell? Terada? We found out he didn't mean for the bomb to go off and that Kiryu is actually alive, and the game ends. So, can you beat Yakuza Kiwami 2 with no upgrades? You sure can, and if you use muscle soda, it would be easy as hell. Also, health items play a big role. I couldn't have beaten the game without them. You guys couldn't see it, but behind the scenes, I probably used more than 100 health items and spent more than 1,000,000 yen on them. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, make sure to comment what game challenges you would like me to attempt, and I will try my best to make that happen. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.